Okay, returning to this tutorial, what we're now trying to do is we've assimilated the 2016 and the 2021 data. So now we're going to create a new layer where we're going to use that to describe that density change. It's going to be a bit trickier than we think. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create that layer, and I'm going to do it because we're going to work on SA1, which is the finest level, which is this level here we're looking at here. That's SA2, that's SA1. So I'm going to go to 2021 because it's got the most recent boundaries in it. So I'm going to go to SA1, and I'm going to choose to export it to save those features. Now I'm going to give it the file name, and I've done this before, so I'm going to give it the file name, what is it? Let's call it G01 SA1 2016 2021. Okay, so that's the name of it. Now, in terms of the fields, I'm going to deselect them, and I'm just going to keep a couple. I'm going to keep the code that we can identify it with, and I'm going to keep the area, and I'm going to link all the other data to it. So I press OK. And I think it's because I've got a wrong location there, so I'll do that again. Save features as. Let's now choose a better location. In actual fact, let's go to I think I'm going to have already Belconnen there. And so we're going to say G01 SA1 2016 2021. Okay, go save there, replace. Again, I'll deselect these, and I'm just going to choose the code and the area. Okay, so let's try this now. Okay, now overwrite the file, and there it is. Now, if we look at the attribute table, let's have a look at it. Here are these SA1 codes. That's the 2021 codes because that's the one I based it on. But, and I know this because I looked at it already, let's look at this attribute table. Not as long, 7 digits. So if we keep this here, and then once this, the rolling cursor of death arrives, we'll then go back to this other one. Let's look at that. Open the attribute table. Now, if we put those next to each other, what you'll see is let's count them. The 2016, it's already saying in the name, it's got 7 digits. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Whereas this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Now, if we look at those codes, in actual fact, some of them, we can see over here that some of them are actually matching. And so what they're matching is that the last 6 digits are matching, and then the 2021 codes are much longer. And if we look at the difference of them and say, let's use one that is clearer, there's one there, then we can see that over here, that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is similar, and this one has that 8. So if we, in a way, we want to add this thing where we want to basically go back to, we want to get rid of that 8, and we want to add this 80101 onto it. So, goodness, how are we going to do that? ChatGPT, let's see what it can do. Let's ask it a logical question. I'm going to say, I am working in QGIS. I want to create an expression that removes the first digit of a entry, and then adds 80101 to it. Yeah, let's see what it says. Well, that's not looking quite right to me. Yeah, we do want to do that. But I don't think I've described this right. I'm going to try this. Let's try it a different way. Write a QGIS expression that removes the first digit of a code and of an entry, and then adds 80101 to the start. Yeah, now that's the right one. Notice you've got to be really clear, because you notice how the first time I added a number into it, whereas in actual fact, what I want to do is add that string to it. So look, guess what? We've got this. This is if it tells you what that's the concertate, right? Okay, because what it's saying is that we're going to add that bit to the front after we've taken out from this field everything, after we including everything from the second character, because 8 is the start. This does it. So let's just cut and paste that for a second. So I have to work out where to do this from. And so what I need to do is I'm actually going to add it to the 2016 table. So let's just close those and let's go back to the 2016 SA1 table. Where are we? 2016. Now, if I open that attribute table, there's, there it is. Now, I think it's simplifying that attribute table because I've hidden a lot of fields in there. And so, let's first of all, we go up here and say organize columns. You'll see that I've turned off all those other columns, right? It makes life easier. So let's go up here. So what I want to do is I'm going to create a new field that I'm going to call convert. And I'm going to keep it, if you look at it here, what we can see is that in actual fact, even though it doesn't look like it should be, it's actually a string. So a string, as we remember, is actually a number of things. And how do we know that that field is the string? Let's go here. And you can see when it gets to that code, it says ABC. So it's telling you that it's actually a string of it's not really numbers, it's a code. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remember that the output type needs to stay as a string. And I'm actually going to cut and paste that thing I had. Now, let's do it this way. Let's now, we can go in here, and so let's actually put in that field, which is this one here. Now, I've got too many things, and there we go. There is the code. Now, we can see that it's added that to it. So, if we go through, we can see how it's added that to create that larger code. So let's run it and see what happens. And there it is. So now we've actually just used that to add to that. Now let's actually pull up another attribute table for the 2021. SA1. And let's get that attribute table that I've got here, put it next to it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Oh, great. So now we know that that table now has those codes made equivalent. So let's see why we need to do that. Why we need to do that is because we're going to this new one I've created, this 2016, 2021. Let's open the attribute table. We're going to try to actually pair them up together so that they can match, right? So we have to remember we're going to add, at this point, we're going to go to properties and we're going to add down here where it says joins. We're actually going to add a couple of things. We're going to, first of all, test that one first. So let's go to the 2016 Belconnen SA1. Target field is actually our field that's, so the join field is actually convert, and the target field is this one here. Now the data we want is actually just the population. Let's try it out. Come on, spinner, come on. Yeah, there you go. So in other words, it matched those figures for us. And so, as you can see, it's a long-winded process, but it's kind of handy, right? We've got, how many fields have we got? How many census areas have we got in Belconnen? 272, right? And it's just done that through that piece of code. How did I do it? ChatGPT told me. Not a bad way to do it. That's what it can do. It can code that stuff. This is going to open a whole world up. So let's now do another connection. And what we'll do is we'll go to properties. Let's add the 2021 data. So now we're going to go to SA1, SA1 2021. We're going to go to, this is an easier one because the codes are the same codes there. Join fields again. We're just going to get population. Okay, apply, okay. Let's have a look at the attribute table again. Where are we? Open attribute table. So yeah, now we've got, there's the 21 data. And so we can see how most of the time the numbers have grown. Sometimes they haven't grown, right? Sometimes they've gone down. You know, some of them have stayed the same. There's been some growth in others. So we can see, you know, some of them have one person, some of them have a couple of less. So we'll pick up some trends that are quite interesting in this process. Okay, and so what we need to do now is we also need to talk about, we're going to talk about density, but I might even just start by talking about, let's just talk about population growth, because that will get to density anyway. So, let's do population growth rather as an explanation. So what I need to do is I need to create a new field. Now, how do I do that? Hang on, let's ask ChatGPT. Let's go further down here. Provide a QGIS expression for calculating population growth. There we go. We're having two sets of data, population counts for two different time periods. Then you can to calculate the growth rate. So, that's the equation. Let's do that. Cut and paste. Control C. Let's go back over here. Let's put that in there. Now, population end, we've got fields. So let's have a look here. So when it comes to population end, I've selected all that. Population end is this one, right? Population start, this one. And then we go back, divided by population start. And notice I'm selecting the inverted commas as well. says the population start is 2016. Okay, so that seems to have done it. So, because there's no errors, it's showing you here. Some places it's less, right? So let's have a look. I need to give it a name. Let's call it grow rate. And what we want to do is we want it to actually be a decimal number. So we can, now, it says output field length. What if we said 4? No, let's stick with 10. Let's have a look at it. We've got some places where, where we got population dropped by 50%, others where it went up, others when it went up by 13%. Some places it went up by 53%. So we've got that there now. That's worked it out. ChatGPT came through for us again. So now let's, what I want to do is I'm going to turn off all these other areas here. Now, for some reason, that's showing as being edited. Let's just toggle editing on that. Yes, we're saving that data we put into there. And so what I'm going to do now, if you remember, select here, we'll go to here, and when it says single symbol, we'll go to graduated. And then we will choose a field, a value, and we'll say grow rate. And let's now choose a color ramp. What if we go from a red to a blue? Okay, let's start by classifying them. And so we can see the red areas are the areas where there is actually a non-growth happening, and the white areas are where it's negligible, but it's still like 0 to 5%. I'm not super happy with that. We've got 5 classes. We can actually choose to have different levels if we want to, enable symbol levels. We can choose to say, we can set that one there. I presume we can set that, how to define the order in which the symbols are layers are rendered. Okay, I don't think that's exactly what I'm talking about. Let's actually talk about editing those values. There we go. So the lower values will say the upper value is 0, because we'll just say those are the areas that didn't grow. So let's start by that. Those are the areas that didn't grow. Okay. We know that the top area here is like, from 8 to 100. So let's instead go from, say, I reckon if we said, let's go in here and say that the lower value is 20 and the upper value is 100. And let's see what happens. We can see there's a whole lot of those places there that that in actual fact, maybe that's not fine enough. Let's try it again. Let's go from 50% to 100%. Okay, so we end up with those ones. Let's change this one here and say we'll change these from 20% to 50%. Okay. Let's now go and make smaller increments. We'll say 15 to 20. We can also, let's go to 7 classes. We might have to bloody mess that up again. So let's start here again. Go the bottom one is to, we'll say -1. because that then shows us that places that didn't grow. Then this one will say -1 to 0. Didn't change. We can actually also in a way, I want that to be 0, right? So, how am I going to do that? Can I delete that one? Let me go to 6. Yeah, so we're going again here to, you see, that's interesting because I want to have a 0. So what I'm doing here is just playing around, right? I'm trying to get a more graduated idea of this. So when I can set this one here, ooh, the white. This one will say it's -1. This one here, we're just going to make it 0. We're going to say 0, 0. Wonder if it's going to like that. Those are the ones that didn't operate like that. And so this one, we're now going to just look at those values and determine how we keep going with that. So let's now choose, let's go and see what we've got here. So let's find another sort of very light blue. About that. Let's find a different blue in here. Let's even think about making that one a little bit darker. Then let's put in this one a bit more. Playing around here just to get that graduated scale. Let's get this one here. Let's make it even darker. That allows us to make this one a little darker again. Then we can get that one. Let's have a look at here and how that's going then. Okay, we've got some graduation there. I could probably make this one actually. Oh yeah, that'll work. So let's now edit this top one and say that one is to 100 from, say, 50. Then this one here, we can say, we'll say that's from 50 to 25. And these ones here, we'll say 25 to, say, 12. So what's that giving us? It's giving us a certain sort of picture. So we've got now a picture there about sort of areas that are in growth and sort of areas that aren't. It's useful. So let's now put on a bit more data. So, we've also got some other information on here. And so what I want to do is if we get SA2 suburbs on here, yeah, there we go. So those suburbs, if I put that layer SA2 and I put it actually on top of there, we should be able to then see what's going on. And so let's now click in here. There's something weird going on in there because it's showing the center of Belconnen is actually not growing. So there's something a bit funny happening there. And so we're going to have to actually, I'm going to make that, let's get that line as hot pink, shall we? Let's now put it as 1. So as you can see, we've got some areas where things are moving and where things they're not moving, And so it's interesting to think about the fact that the center of Belconnen in that period is shown as not growing, right? And so, there's clearly some glitches there. And so there's some areas that went down. There's one area that went up a little bit. We can see that, Macquarie, I don't know these areas so well, but we can see certain places growing. So the aim of this exercise is just to show us and to begin that process of really understanding what's happening where. And with this, we can then also move on to other census data. And so, yeah, overall, our aim has been to work out how we can get fields that don't even seem to match by using operations, using ChatGPT to help us work out programming that, quite frankly, I wouldn't be able to work out. And then to create this sort of density and growth change. Let's tweak this a bit more, and I'd really like people to think about ways that they can cross-reference to get more out of it.